This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Just one more drop of bliss. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? There we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. And we're broadcasting live from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. Nathan's producing the broadcast in Minnesota. Ken Hurley's in the broadcast classroom with us.
And good. It's good to be here.
And Colonel Tom Johnson's on the line with us, and we're going to spend a few minutes and we're going to talk about the military antiques extravaganza. Welcome, Colonel Tom Johnson.
Thank you, Vince. It's very nice for me to be back on your program again, and we certainly are looking forward to having you at our show this year.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I was trying so hard to figure out how I could broadcast and yet be at the show, because it is on the East Coast in Monroeville at the Convention Center, October 3rd, 4th, and 5th of this year. That's near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So that's Monroeville.
Excuse me. Let me correct the dates now. It's 4, 5, and 6.
Well, yeah.
4th of October is the setup day for the dealers.
Okay.
And the show is open to the public on 5 and 6 October.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
Somehow...
Disregard that. I'm looking at last year's program on my desk. I apologize.
So I was right?
The dates you have are correct, except 3 October is the setup day, and 4 and 5 is the actual show. I was looking at last year's program. I beg your pardon.
Okay. So, class, October 3rd is the setup day for the Military Antiques Extravaganza. It is a huge military event. The setup day for the dealers is October 3rd. Then the 4th and 5th are the days that the general public and guests can be there. So I'm going to be there setting up on October 3rd. I'm going to be broadcasting on October 3rd, and it's going to be an absolute delight to be there. So I've been there many times, and some of our family have been there, and I know many of the major players there. So Colonel Tom Johnson, what will you be bringing to this event that we will see that's exciting?
I think you know my operation quite well. I have always specialized in World War I and World War II German edge weaponry, which specifically is dress daggers, swords, and bayonets. After leaving the Army, 20-year career in the Army, I started a business in dealing in German edge weaponry. And so to answer your question specifically about what we'll be bringing, it will be exactly that. A lot of original German daggers, a lot of swords, a lot of bayonets, but in addition to that, we also have expanded, and now we include medals and decorations. This is German medals and decorations, as well as some helmets and uniforms. But the preponderance of our own offering at the show will be edge weaponry.
Yes, and class, I have purchased edged weapons from Colonel Tom Johnson over the years, and they're extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. So, Colonel Johnson, you're going to have a lot of exhibits. How large is this facility?
It's over 100,000 square feet. That's the minimum size that we can fit the MAC show into it, which is a very, very large convention center. And we occupy the Monroeville. We occupy the entire convention center. It's set up like a lot of centers to where they can divide it off into different sections and all. But we end up taking the entire building. At last year's show, we had We had a total of 274 dealers, and the number of tables, because many dealers take multiple tables, runs 12 to 1,400.
Class 1,200 to 1,400 tables, 274 dealers. If you want to see some original, authentic military items, you can. Right at the Max show, the Military Antiques Extravaganza. I'll be broadcasting live from there. Colonel Johnson, seminars. You offer seminars as well as hands-on, seeing, touching, feeling many of the exquisite antiques at the event. Tell us about some of the seminars.
What we do every year, Vince, and we started this, it goes all the way back to our first Max show, which was 29 years ago in St. Louis. 1985 was the first show. And we decided that collecting militaria, which was a fairly young hobby at that time, that we should incorporate a lot of the educational aspects of the hobby. So we started with the first show inviting the real leaders in the field to give free seminars, and we've continued that straight through. We normally have either 2 or 3 seminars per Max show, and they are in the evening after the show closes. They're totally free, and the seminars are under the auspices of Mr. Ronald Winan, who's been our seminar chief since the first show in 1985. And they run in length about each seminar 30 to 45 minutes, and obviously on the subject of one aspect of militaria.
Yeah, and I've met some very interesting people at the Max show. For example, I met one of the crew members of the Bismarck, and he was a machinist. And he and I were talking, and Colonel Johnson, he was reliving the attack by the Allies on the Bismarck right in front of me. He was just furious that we were sinking the ship. And also, I met some of the crew, those still alive from Boxcar, the bomber that attacked Japan with atomic weapons.
That is correct. We've had the pilot, and we've had the co-pilot. We've also had the U.S. Army Air Corps pilot of the Memphis Belle, the very famous bomber Memphis Belle. He unfortunately has passed away in the interim, but he gave a very outstanding seminar at the Max show.
I got the autographs of a lot of the men who were on Boxcar, and with an autographed photograph. And I gave it to a junior ROTC class in Virginia. I thought that they would really enjoy having that in their classroom. So I no longer have that, but it was signed with original signatures by some of the members of Boxcar. So class, those are the kinds of things that you can see, and I'm really looking forward to being there again. Colonel Tom Johnson, what is the cost for someone to get in as a guest to attend the exhibits and the seminars?
We charge an entrance fee of $12 per adult. Any child that's 12 or under comes into the show absolutely free. We really try to encourage young kids to get interested in collecting militaria. So there's no charge for that for the kids. And in addition to that, what you'll find is that a lot of the dealers, including my own tables, will try to have something free to give to the kids that come to the show. It may be Army patches. It may be some German coins, but several of the dealers will do that. So a young kid walking around with his father throughout the show can end up collecting a lot of booty just by being there.
Well, I know what you've done to help our son get his collection up and going, and you gave him a real, genuine 40% silver Nazi coin. I would say, it's got to be, I'm thinking 2007, probably 2007.
I think that's right. I think that's when we were in the Expo Mart at Monroeville. Mm-hmm. Yeah, your two sons, Vance, have always been a treat for my wife and myself. Vinny and and John Michael. We were always glad to see them at the show. Two very outstanding young men. I know Vinny was bedridden for a while, and he told me, I'll never forget this, that he had read all 8 of my volumes cover to cover, and it really made an impression on me. He's a fine young man.
Well, he was very young at the time, and he had some hip surgery, and we took care of him in the family room. He was in a body cast for many, many months. And so we got a computer and we put it on the floor, and he just kind of hung off the bed that we put in the family room in Virginia. And he read the internet. He read the websites dealing with World War II, World War I, and he wanted to buy your entire set of books, every one. So he asked me to contact you, and we did, and you shipped them right out. And he got them, and he just read them. He read every single day, all day long, cover to cover. And as a matter of fact, it's very interesting. He wanted to buy a rare dagger. And I won't describe exactly what it was. But he went to a show, and it was fairly expensive, and he saved a long, long time for this dagger. And he went to a show in Virginia, and the dealer said, this is absolutely rare. It's authentic. And so I said, well, let's go ask another dealer what he thinks. And the other dealer said, well, that's a fake. It's an absolute fake, and you're wasting your money. So here we have 2 dealers that we had seen at gun shows for years. One says it's real, one says it's fake. And Vinny said, Dad, it is absolutely real. I know it's real. I've seen the picture in the book. And the second opinion is wrong. So he bought the dagger. And he was absolutely right. It was rare, and it was real. And that was based on him reading your materials in your volumes that you put together. He has a photographic memory. So I wanted to share that story. I know you haven't heard that before, but that is absolutely the truth.
Well, I'm happy to hear that, man. It's very happy.
And he has that dagger to this day. So I'm looking forward to being with you. I'm looking forward to broadcasting live. So we're going to have a table there, and some if interested, people can come up and meet us. And we can talk about German militaria, and we can talk about Japanese militaria, and we can talk about Allied militaria. At the Military Antiques Extravaganza, MAX 2013, Monroeville Convention Center, October 3rd, setup day, October 4th and 5th, Monroeville, Pennsylvania. And it's called themaxshow.com, themaxshow.com. Colonel Johnson, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Vince. If I could just mention one other thing that your class would...
Class, Colonel Tom Johnson's with us, and we're talking about the Military Antiques Extravaganza. And in my hands, I have a SA dagger. Just before the SS, it's a brown dagger, purchased at the Military Antiques Extravaganza. Colonel Johnson, I'll just tell you what it is, and then you can tell me what you think. And then we'll go right into what you'd like to discuss. It's an F.A. Helbig SA dagger.
Okay, Vince, that's an interesting maker and an uncommon maker, and one that was not located in Zolligan. The vast majority of dagger manufacturers were all centered in the city of Zolligan, which was world famous for knife making. Mm-hmm. And there's some estimates of as many as 250 different SA companies that made SA daggers. The SA Brown Shirts was such a large organization that they had a tremendous demand for hundreds of thousands of daggers. Mm-hmm. But Helbig is an uncommon. Trademarks are sometimes classified as common, uncommon, and scarce, and then rare. Of course, the other factor that plays into the value of the SA dagger in your hand would be the condition. Condition is very important with collectors, and the better the condition, the higher price on the market.
So what would be the range, Colonel Johnson, of a dagger of this type? Let's say good condition all the way up to excellent condition or outstanding condition.
Well, to give you a range for SA daggers that I think you'll see at this year's Smack Show, and incidentally, there will be not dozens, but probably a few hundred SA daggers at the show. It's so large. I would say probably the cheapest one that you would find for sale there in just fair condition would probably start at about $250 and would go right up to and exceed $1,000 when you start getting into the ones that will grade excellent, plus or near mint.
Mm-hmm.
We've sold SA daggers probably as high as $1,400.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the exception and not the rule. That would be one just in mint condition and looks the same as the day it was made.
Mm-hmm. And I know we bought a Hitler Youth knife, if you will, at your event, the Max Show, and it was absolutely brand new condition. It was not a replica. It was the real deal. It was an original condition, never used. It's a wonderful possession to own. So you were going to share something with us, Colonel Johnson.
No, I was just going to point out that we talked about seminars, and I just wanted to let your listeners know that also, in addition to the seminars, we also will have, as we have done for the last 29 Max shows, we'll have a live auction of militaria conducted by our auction company from Florida, the affiliated auction company from Tallahassee, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
It's open to the public. There's no charge, and they'll auction off probably 150, 200 lots.
Can you? There was something that I was very interested in bidding on at one of the auctions that I attended at your show, and that was a Hitler decanter, AH. It was lead crystal,
mm-hmm.
and there were two, and I'm kicking myself for not buying them. I mean, I could have gone higher. I could have, and I didn't know where to stop, and I stopped just short because of buying it. But boy, that would have been pretty neat. So there's some really, really neat one-of-a-kind artifacts that you can find at the Military Antiques Extravaganza. That's October 3rd for setup. The 4th and 5th are for the guests to attend. $12 to attend the Military Antiques Extravaganza. And if you'd like to go to the website, it's themaxshow.com. The MAX show.com. And you've had some famous personalities there, too. So if you'd like to join us, I'll be there. Colonel Tom Johnson will be there. And there'll be so many dealers, 1,200 to 1,400 tables. It'll be a cool event. And I'll be broadcasting live. Colonel Tom Johnson, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Vince. Look forward to seeing you at the show.
See you at the show.
All right.
Coming up next, Ken Hurley and I are going to talk. Yeah, we're broadcasting live from the farm today. Ken Hurley wanted to come over, and we're going to talk about building. So we're going to talk about building a home and the 10 sins in home building. Ken Hurley, let's start off with, you've been to the expos, the meetups, you've given seminars at the meetups, you help me all the time get set up for the meetups. It's great to have you here at the farm with us. Ken, we're going to build a home. Let's talk about some of the things that we should not do when we build a home.
Well, and first of all, thanks for having me on, Vince. There's a lot of things that, when you're building a home, you only have one chance to do it right. Because mm-hmm. once it's built, do-overs are just so expensive, you just can't afford to do it. Mm-hmm. And most people in the building arena, they have not invested their time going to energy seminars, energy efficient schools, being involved with at the manufacturing level of energy efficient products. And most builders out there can build a very beautiful home, and they are, but boy, once a month the homeowners get sticker shock when they get their utility bill. And it is happening here in Missouri, where in the heat of the summer or of the cold of the winter, people's energy bills are exceeding their monthly house payment.
Yeah, I can tell you this, that the electric utility company has been here stomping around our farm trying to figure out how come our electric bill is so low. They tell me that they're doing it for other reasons. They want to make sure the equipment's hooked up right. But they're trying to figure out how we can be doing this at $84 a month in the coldest part of the winter. They can't figure it out, Ken.
And I must say, your candles are beautiful. No, I'm kidding. One thing we do have, Vince, when you're doing things, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing,
Well, Ken, without giving away secrets, we're not living in the dark here, are we?
No, we're not.
No. So yes, you can build an energy efficient home, and that's what we'd like to talk about. So, Ken, let's start with step number 1. What do we do?
Okay. Well,
what's the most important thing to do?
Pre-planning. Pre-planning is the most important, because if you don't have a plan, you don't know how to work it. Or in other words, you plan your work and then you work your plan.
Right.
What you need to do is, when I go out and I am looking at a project, I actually interview the family and want them, I ask them, what is it that you want your new home to do for you? And I know that's a very broad statement, but then I start getting into specifics. What is it that you don't like about your existing home, and what are your dreams for your future home? And so some of the things, when you go over to like the 10 deadliest sins of the home, and this is my order, it could be somebody else's order, but when you build it several things linked together, but one of the things is improper insulation. And even if you use the best insulation on the market and it's improperly installed, it can't perform to 100% of the manufacturer's specifications.
You're absolutely right. And I think one of the things that's overrated is fiberglass insulation. I really do. I look at homes that are insulated with the same thickness of fiberglass as we have at the farmhouse in foam, and their heating and cooling bills are so much higher.
Well, and the ironic thing about it is the, quote, R factor of spray foam, cellulose, and fiberglass are roughly about the same per inch. So if you have a 5.5-inch wall, that's an R19, R20. Well, you've got R19, R20 of fiberglass and cellulose, but the foamed house right up front will cut the utility bills in half with the same R value.
Yeah, and I saw that. Ken, I met you many years ago at a trade show in Springfield, Missouri, way before I had the broadcast, probably close to 8 years ago, maybe even maybe close to 9 years ago. And you were talking about insulation, and it made so much sense because with the fiberglass, air will blow right through it. It'll blow right through it. It resists the airflow. It's great for sound abatement, but in terms of insulating against the heat and the cold, it doesn't compare to the foam insulation that, as I've seen it.
Well, Dr. Richard Rue out of Texas explained to me that you can take like a 5.5-inch bat, an R19 bat.
Of fiberglass?
Yeah, of fiberglass. And the energy traveling through the outside to the inside or the inside to the outside is basically like comparing it to a dry sponge, and you put a drop of water on it, it's absorbed and the fiberglass or the sponge holds it. And so what he basically said is in 5.5 hours, he says that fiberglass bat is absorbed 100%. So if it takes on another BTU of energy, it has to give off a BTU of energy. In the same 5.5-inch R19 foam, it's 73 hours. But they both have the same R value.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that, seriously, the utility company is trying to figure out how we're stealing electricity here, because they cannot figure it out. They really can't. They're stomping around with their meters. The guys are looking. They're looking to see if I have some secret connection where I'm tapping in before my meter that they don't know about, and they can't find one Because there isn't any.
Well, in my past, I did a house in Wichita, Kansas, and they had 2 foot of fiberglass in the flat part of the ceiling, 9,000 square foot house, 5 geothermal heating and air conditioning systems, and 2x8 walls. And his August electric bill, I believe that was in 1996, 97, somewhere around in there. His electric bill was $3,300 for the month of August. He contacted us the summer of next year and said, what can we do? Now, he can afford the electric bill.
What is he doing to... That's a... Well, it sounds like a small manufacturing company.
But that's his personal home. Sits on 35 acres in Wichita, and so it's.
So what'd you do?
So what we did is said, okay, hey, we need to take your exhaust fans because they were exhausted into the attic, which is one of the deadliest sins. No, you take and exhaust it outside the house. So they had their HVAC company come in and read ductwork and so on and stuff like that. And then we came in and sprayed 6 inches of foam on the roof line of his house. Now, we did it as a part-time procedure because we were doing new homes and we didn't want to slow up, construction time. But it took us about 6 weeks to insulate this guy's house. So we got done in July, the end of July. And it was hot. And when you're working in a hot attic, you're just not fast. So then he got his August bill in September. Now, the year before, it was $3,300. Guess how much it was? And all we did was add R19 foam to the roof line and exhausted the exhaust vents out of the bathrooms to the soffit area. What do you think his electric bill was a year later?
Well, I'm going to have to guess it'd be 10 times more than, or 15 times more than I'd be willing to pay, which would be $1,500.
It was $528.
So it's only 5 times more than I'd want to pay.
So anyway, now this is a 9,000 square foot home, and they lived luxuriously. Okay,
luxuriously. Yeah. So you did that. Now let's talk about some of these other sins. Are there other sins that we should talk about? So obviously, foam insulation is a great way to go. So class, if you're considering new construction, consider foam insulation over cellulose and over fiberglass. What's another one? Okay,
one of the things is air sealing your house. Now, a lot of people don't you do that? Well, you just take, for example, a 2,000 square foot house. That's a 40 by 50 ranch style. You got 180 feet of linear wall, and just taking the gap from the bottom plate and the top plate, not counting the cripples or the headers, at a 32nd of an inch, which isn't very wide, adds up to a 16th. You convert that to thousandths as 0.0625 times 180 feet, and you have an air leakage of 11.25 square feet, which is about the size of a bathroom window. Now, how many people leave their bathroom windows open year-round?
What you just said, I think, should wake us up. What you said is all of these little air leaks really, really add up to a huge air leak.
Well, this is not my invention of this saying, so I'm going to copy it, and I wished I remembered who told me about it. I don't do something 100% better than anybody else. I do 100 things 1% better than anybody else.
So you add up all of those. That's really huge. And I remember the saying back in the 1960s, when someone left a window open in the winter, it's like, hey, it's a big county to heat.
Well, now, and just to show you how countries around the world do it, but over in Europe, they recommend opening a window daily for 5 hours for ventilation of the home.
Wow.
But here in the United States, we kind of think we're wanting to be a little better, and the purpose for insulation, air sealing, mechanical ventilation, and all this, HVAC system is we don't like what Mother Nature gives us. Now, right now, Mother Nature's, it's not a bad day outside, and there's just a few weeks out of the year. But when it's 10 degrees outside, we don't want it 10 degrees inside.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do we seal these cracks?
Okay, basically, what you do is just use a lot of caulking. I mean, when two pieces of wood come together, you want it air sealed, because just slapping two pieces of wood together and nail them together like a top plate or like a cripple, before you put boxing material on, if you look, you can see daylight in between those two pieces of wood. And basically, when you look at this house, it's called indirect air leakage. Or rather, opening windows and doors is a direct air leakage. Air leaks is indirect air leakage.
Can we come back? I'm going to ask you, how can we figure out a simple way for the homeowner to figure out where the leaks are? Because the house is now built. How do we find the leaks? Ken Hurley, East Star Builders. We'll be right back. Class, Ken Hurley's in the studio with me, and we're talking about energy efficiency. And I'd like to share with you, Ken Hurley is a USAPreparedness.com instructor, and he's starting his own broadcast in the local market in the Springfield, Branson community. He's starting his own broadcast on October 5th. He's going to be on Saturdays. He's going to be talking about energy efficiency, building homes, and so it'll be a home type show. So I'd like to congratulate you, Ken, for stepping up and jumping in to become a broadcaster, something that's brand new to you, right?
Yes, it is, but being a salesman, talking is not my weak point.
All right, let's talk about these leaks. We've got an existing home, and it leaks like a sieve. It leaks the amount of a bathroom window being open in many cases. So how do we find these leaks? What does a person do if we want to stop our house from leaking? I mean, we can caulk everywhere, but how do we know we're caulking in the right spot?
Well, first of all, to find out where the leaks are, what we do is a blower door test, and I'm a HERS rater.
Say that again?
What's that?
Can you say that again? What's the test?
It's a blower door test.
A blower door test?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we do is put your house in a computer. We close everything up, shut off any gas appliances and so on. Put a blower door piece of equipment in one of your exterior doors. We have outside and inside pressures. We have fan diameters and RPMs, and then we measure the CFM that is leaking through the door, and we can literally calculate the cubic feet per minute that's leaking in your home. Now, after your house is built, it's hard to seal them, and so that's why I actually do 2 blower door tests on my homes. Is once after we insulate, prior to sheetrocking, we test our homes, and then we fix anything that we miss, and then after the house is completed for an official Energy Star home, that's when we get our official test. And so we get the Energy Star rating at that time.
Okay, so the two big problems with a home, as we've identified them so far today, is the lack of insulation, improper insulation type for energy efficiency, and you like foam the best, right?
Oh, that's all I use is foam.
Yeah, okay. And then the leaks. So after we do that, is there anything else we can do to avoid the sins of building a home? I know we're pressed for time.
Properly sizing, designing, and installing your heating and cooling system and adding mechanical ventilation.
Let's talk about the right size for a heating system. Can you have a heating system that's too big?
Probably 70-80% of the homes have too big of a furnace air conditioner in their homes now.
Okay, so actually, not only can you save money with the purchase of the equipment, you'll save money using the equipment if it is not oversized.
That is correct. And one of my rule of thumbs, in the heat of the day, in the hottest day of the year when we're hitting, 95, 100, 105, if your air conditioner is running less than 45 minutes out of the hour, it's too big.
Now, let's talk about humidity and dehumidification with a unit that's too big, because that is a problem.
It's a huge problem.
It's okay. Let's talk about why that's a problem. We'll have to say it quickly, but why is it a problem if the unit's too big?
Well, because when it's too big, you're putting too many BTUs of cooling into your home. You're satisfying the thermostat, but you're not getting the cubic foot of air to flow through the coil to get condensation. You know, with your condensation drain, the decondensation, you're pulling the latent moisture out of the air, and what that does, that's a primary purpose of a heating and air conditioning system, is to dehumidify. The secondary purpose is to cool the house. So you can have a satisfied thermostat, but it'll be cool and damp in your home, and then you start getting mold, mildew, bacteria, and other things, and that creates sick building syndrome. So it's kind of like dominoes. Once you knock over the first domino, they just keep falling and falling, and then the problems keep rising and rising.
Class should be absolutely shocked at the amount of moisture that's pulled out of the air of your home. You can see it drip, 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 drip. I mean, it's unbelievable how much air comes out of an air conditioning condenser during the summer. Ken Hurley's with us, and he's going to stay in the broadcast studio with me at the farm. And John Reagan's going to join us, and we're going to talk about the economy. What the heck is going on? And Wall Street seems to like it. I'm Vincent Finelli. This is USAPreparedness.com. We're going to be right back after the top of the hour. John Reagan, Ken Hurley, and we're going to talk about the economy. Don't touch that dial.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Hour number 2, USAPrepares.com. Although politicians wince when I say it, this is USAPrepares.com. I just want to tell you, before we go into our instruction on the economy, there have been some FBI flyers that have been distributed, Communities Against Terrorism, suspicious activity reporting flyers. You know, if you see something, rat on your neighbor, rat on your brother, rat on your parents, rat on your family. Well, there's about 25 of these flyers produced by the FBI. And they've been distributed to businesses. And what they're saying is, make sure you collect data on your customers. Now, who would be distributing these flyers? Well, let's see. That would be a beauty and drug supplier. You can that's an area of business where you might be reported on by being a customer. So, beauty and drug suppliers. Airport service suppliers, bulk fuel distributors. Now, I buy bulk fuel at the farm. So let's say I buy a tank load of fuel. If I get reported to the FBI because I just bought a tank of fuel to run my tractors, I will never buy fuel from that company again. Not only that, I'll tell you who it is. It hasn't happened yet, but if it does, I will announce who they are, and we will do everything we can to put them out of business. And here's another thing. I just hit my own button. You know, as Nemenha, we have the right. I'm a Native American medicine man. I've been adopted by Nemenha. And one of our instructors bought some signs to the expo that talked about Nemenha. Do you know that printer called the government and said, I don't know if these guys are terrorists or what? Can you imagine that? I think I think we should probably discuss who that company is, and let's put them out of business for even thinking about reporting us to the federal government for being Nemenha and practicing our religion. What a bunch of boneheads. Okay, who else? Electronic stores. Jeez, I shop at electronic stores. I buy parts. I buy capacitors, resistors, switches, transformers, wire. Farm supply stores. I buy fertilizer. I buy supplements for our cows. I buy thousands of pounds of salt a year, tons of fertilizer, tons of lime. How about home improvement stores, hotels, motels, internet cafes, shopping malls, martial arts, paintball, military surplus, storage facilities? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that's what the FBI is up to, making sure that those organizations know that to be responsible, they will report you for your patronage. If you get wind of any of that, please let me know, and we'll make sure that those who are telling on us for legal activities, that's illegal activities, we want to make sure that we give them full credit for what they're doing to us. John Reagan's with us. John Reagan is a USAPrepares.com instructor. He's got an MBA, U.S. Air Force officer, retired. Welcome, John Reagan.
This is your captain speaking. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that your seat cushion may be used as a flotation device. Unfortunately, today we'll be traveling over desert. How's your day, Vincent?
Hey, John, I'd like to convey, it's hard, I don't know if we can do it, but we have, the faculty at USA Prepares really gets along well. I mean, all of us, we do things together, we spend time together, we go to, we visit each other, it's really a, not only is it a faculty, but we all get along, wouldn't you say?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Hey, John, man, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to talk about the economy. Now, I have said many times that I'm considering writing the university and asking them for a refund for my education, because a lot of what I was taught was fundamentals. And if the economy is, if we are behaving above board and honestly, then what I was taught works. But the current behavior makes no sense in the economics that I was taught. And let me give you an example. This week, the stock market shot up, and some people said, wow, what caused that? Well, the Federal Reserve decided they're going to continue what they call pumping. Pumping, I guess, sounds like an okay thing, but it's not. Pumping means they are going to create, we'll call it money, out of debt. That's a bad thing. As far as I can tell, John Reagan, if we are creating liquidity, as they call it, quantitative easing, out of debt, that means we can't pay our bills. That means we're in more trouble than we were before we created more debt. But Wall Street looks at that and says, that's a good thing, and the market takes off instantaneously. You can look at the chart. It's straight up. It's not a slope. It is vertical. What do you think, John?
Well, they have to put that $85 billion a month somewhere, and that's basically into stocks and bonds. Unfortunately, it doesn't help anybody in real life. It just makes the coming crash worse.
Well, okay. Since, John, I've every time you're on the air with me, you wipe the smiles off everybody's face. You do the same thing at the meetup, so let's just go do it.
Hey, some people have talent.
Go ahead. Let's start.
A lot of news items be going through today, and it really makes me wonder what our president is thinking, or if he's just so disconnected, or if he's just plain mentally ill. Two of the quotes from this past week. Raising the debt ceiling does not increase our debt.
Nonsense.
I mean, we're just using one credit card to pay another, no problem. And he was also talking about how technology has gotten rid of entire occupations. And he said, we don't have travel agents, we don't have bank tellers. I believe this came as a great surprise to our travel agents and bank tellers.
Well, yeah, it has. Now, he is right. We are reducing the number required because we're doing or some of us are doing electronic banking. I'm not, but some people are. And travel agents, yeah, we do have some online applications that can reduce the need for them, but we still have them. So he's wrong. And raising the debt ceiling does not raise the debt. Then why raise it?
And at least Warren Buffett isn't quite as bad. He says not lifting the debt ceiling is dumb. Well, in my point of view, we have a choice. We can have a big crash now or a bigger crash later. Considering the fact we need more time to get ready, I'm for the bigger crash later.
Are you really? Okay. Well, we're looking at the possibility of a trucker strike. And, John, I'd like to... I'm sorry to take the time right now, but, class, I can't tell you if this is real or not, but there are reports on the Internet for the call for a truckers' strike. Drive down to Washington, D.C., October 11th through 13th, to stall the delivery of goods in the supply chain across the United States of America. The point is to get to the government, get the message to the government that we've had it. And so this is a protest. They're looking to create a massive convoy to drive to Washington, D.C., and they're angry about the Benghazi cover-up. They're angry about ever-rising fuel prices. They're claiming that the president has engaged in treasonous crimes, and they want everybody to know about it. So they're calling for a trucker strike. You can go to usaprepares.com, page 1, and read the article. Now, if that happens, we're going to be in a world of hurt because, and here's the homework for tonight. Here's what I'd like you to do. I would like you to go to your circuit panel. And I've called for this on the air a couple times, and I've done it at meetups. Tonight, go to your circuit panel, shut off all the breakers to everything that you've got except for refrigeration and devices that require life support, like medical devices. Turn off the power from your circuit panel. Then what you do is you put some tape across your faucets and across your toilet so you don't use the handle. And that tells you that you don't have any water, and you put some tape across your refrigerator and freezer so you don't open it. That way your food doesn't go bad when you shut the power off. Bottom line is you're going to be in the dark, no radio, no television, no cell phones, no DVRs, no satellite TV. You're going to be in the dark tonight. And we're going to do it from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock tonight, just 3 hours. Think about what happened. Write down what you don't like. Did you have candles? Did you have batteries for your flashlight? How long did they last? You're going to actually see what it's really like if the grid goes down. Okay? Really simple exercise. And if you can't stand it, turn the breakers back on. Okay? You're in control. It's a controlled power outage. And we mentioned yesterday that there's a planned one that's made the internet news for November. So it may happen. It may happen anyway, whether you want it to or not. So please, go through this exercise, and then next week, give me a call. Give me a call on this broadcast and tell us what happened, what you learned, okay? Please do that. And I'm going to give you our call-in number when we come back, and you can tell us on Monday, Tuesday, what you learned, okay? I've asked for this before. No one's done it. No one has done it. Now, we only hit 97 counties in Missouri when we broadcast, 6 states. No one's done it. No one's done it at the meetups. It's never been done. Not that I haven't asked. We'll be right back. So you've got your homework, which is shut off the power. at your breakers except for emergency devices, medical devices, and your refrigeration. And I'm going to give you the number to call in on Monday, 866-582-9933, 866-582-9933. We've offered that homework in the past, and no one, although people have said, yeah, I'll do it, it's never been done. So please try it. Let me know what you think, and we'll share that with the class. That's because the power grid may go down because the government may be shutting it down in November just to see how it works and see how we react and how well prepared we are. I wonder if that's why they bought those millions and millions and millions of rounds, enough to kill each one of us 5 times, those hollow points. I wonder if that's what they're for, to see how well we react when they shut the power down. I don't know. I really don't know. But I think it'd be a good exercise for you to shut your power down. John Reagan, okay, let's get into the economy. We're in a world of trouble. You believe, and just cut right to the chase, you believe the economy is going to collapse, right?
We don't have a choice. And to do a quick recap, because I know there's students that haven't heard this before, two of the big points I pull out. One, we have unfunded liabilities for our social insurance programs. This is Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid. It does not include Obamacare because Obamacare is not in force yet. Mm-hmm. The amount of money it would take to fix the problem of these unfunded liabilities would take more than all the money in the world. Mm-hmm. I know that's a big step to take right there. And I think some people think, well, we got into this mess incrementally. We can get out of it incrementally. Well, the problem is, to stop going into debt, you have to stop digging the hole deeper. We are at a point where we can't even stop digging the hole deeper. Just a few months ago, I came across the tax stats from the IRS, and the most current ones were 2010 for personal returns and 2008 for business returns. When you combine that together, we have roughly $9.1 trillion in total income, allowing for some growth. Since then, I would just round that to $10 trillion for discussion purposes. Currently, government spending is about $6.4 trillion a year, combined federal, state, and local. That means if government were no longer able to print money or borrow money, it would take a 64% tax rate on all income with no deductions, no exclusions, just to pay for government. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. People know...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, there you have it. There's no way it can do anything but collapse. That's it.
Right. But to drive the point home, people know that we're nearly $17 trillion in debt just for the federal government. What they typically don't know is total debt for the United States, when you take government at all levels, businesses, and personal debt, that is almost $60 trillion. Interest alone on that debt, just so you don't default on the debt, at today's record low interest rates, is over $3 trillion a year. Now, to top that off, just to keep the unfunded liabilities from getting worse, and it depends on whose numbers you want to believe. There are very over-optimistic numbers that suggest that the unfunded liabilities are only 70-some trillion. Professor Kotlikoff uses the alternate scenario from the Congressional Budget Office and has a number over $200 trillion. And these numbers increase by a minimum of 5% every year. So just using that minimum, we've got a range of between $6 and $11 trillion just to keep the unfunded liabilities from getting worse. When you add just those three items together, you need somewhere between $16 and $20 trillion just to keep things from getting worse on a total income of $10 trillion. That's why there is no way to avoid a collapse. And the only reason it hasn't collapsed yet is because we don't have to pay cash out on those unfunded liabilities yet.
John Reagan, USAPrepares.com instructor. John's written a book called The Financial State of the Union. and he was a speaker at Glenn Beck's event just a few days ago. John Reagan's with us. We're talking about the economy. John wrote a book called The Financial State of the Union. Michael from New York, you are on with John Reagan, me, Vin Finelli, and Ken's in the studio.
Good morning, Vincent and John and Ken. Real quick, guys, you know what cracks me up, gentlemen? When we hear the propaganda media report the news, such as raising the debt ceiling, which is such an inaccurate presentation of what they're actually doing to our country, and the people listening will think, well, I guess the sky's the limit. We can just keep raising the debt ceiling. But more accurately, like John just said, they're digging a debt hole deeper. So deep, if they really reported it that way, people would immediately think, hey, man, they're digging this hole so deep, we'll never crawl out of it.
John Reagan?
I tend to call it the black hole of debt, and we are beyond the event horizon.
That's right, and that's how it should be presented all the time. It's a debt ceiling's impossible. The only thing that keeps going up is profit margin. Debt is taking you down. Debt's our hole, and all of these guys in our government are doing is digging that hole so deep, we'll never crawl out of it as a country. By design, of course.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate your call.
Okay, thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Thank you, Michael. You know, John, what I haven't seen is I haven't seen people come up to me and say, hey, I just got a raise. Just got a raise. 3%, 4%, 5%. I remember getting a raise of, I don't know, maybe 10%. A couple times in my life, maybe even more. And that's back in the 70s. But, John, we don't get raises to keep up with the massive amount of taxes and debt that we're paying in the... And, of course, John, why don't you tie this very, very quickly to what does this mean to us? Yeah, okay, we can't pay the debt. We're going to collapse. But what happens just before the collapse, between right now and the collapse? What do we see to prices?
More than likely, we're going to see prices continue to rise at a higher level or higher rate. And the only reason we're not seeing that so much right now is, one, they fudge the inflation figures for the reporting purposes, and two, when you go to the store, they're reducing the size of the packages so that you don't notice that you're getting less product for the same amount of money.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you, even in coffee mugs, John, I bought some coffee mugs. I bought, maybe 1,000 coffee mugs for they say USA Prepares on one side, and they had a local radio station I broadcasted on the other side, and then I bought like 1,000 more, and they say USA Prepares on one side, exactly the same coffee mug, same part number, same everything, and on the other side they say one of our affiliates, Big Country 99 The Rooster, or GCN, or any or other affiliates. So I have these coffee mugs, okay? And the new ones are smaller, just a little bit. The handle's a little bit smaller. The contents are that it holds just a little bit smaller, but they're rated the same. So even coffee mugs have seen inflation. Even without the price increasing, they've gotten a little bit smaller. And, heck, there, back in the 60s when we went out for Halloween, a Hershey bar was 1 ounce. Not anymore. And it used to be a nickel for 1 ounce of chocolate. Not anymore. All right, let's talk about where we're headed, John.
Well, one of the things that I do is point out how the projections that's used in the trustee reports for Social Security are way off. And to do that, I went back 38 years. I don't go back to 75 years of the table because I wanted to compare fiat currency to fiat currency. If I went back 75 years, that'd take up a time when we still had real money involved. Mm-hmm. So just based on that, to believe the figures that they use, and this is what's used for the budgets that you're getting ready to see come out in the news, you have to believe that over the next 38 years that the inflation will end up being half of what it was over the previous 38, in spite of all the money they've printed since the collapse started in 2008. Another thing that's in their tables, based on the 2011 base year, the average wage index is 43,000. They're projecting that to be 194,000 in 2049. Interesting article came out in the past week or two that a study published from the Russell Sage Foundation that will be in a book later this year, just based on demographics, they are showing how income is going to be falling, and that a typical worker earning $50,000 a day would by 2050 be earning $44,000. So these projections that are being used to base all these budgets on believe that costs are going to be lower and income's going to be higher than what it really is. And I probably just need to start going rapid fire through some of these other headlines. We are on the verge of a currency war, especially if the Fed does not taper in October or December. They just announced they're holding off on the tapering. And if they continue to hold off, that means other countries are going to be adjusting their currency, setting off a currency war. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, just as you thought things couldn't get any worse, credit markets are going to be hit by a tsunami of maturing corporate debt. Standard & Poor's estimates that companies in Europe, the U.S., and major Asian economies require a combination of refinancing and new money to fund growth over the next 4 years of between $43 trillion and $46 trillion. And that is a lot of new debt or rolling over a debt that has to be done. We've got the Treasury and their shenanigans. They've kept the debt at exactly $16.699 trillion for 4 months, and they've done that with accounting tricks. This week we also had the CBO come out and say that the U.S. is on an unsustainable budget course, and the lie that they're telling there is debt to reach 100% of GDP in 25 years. What they do there is they only say the debt that is owned by the public. They say that debt owned by the government doesn't count because that's just, from one pocket to another. For you to believe that lie, you would have to believe that the government's going to shut down the Social Security and Medicare programs, because that's what that debt is. And when you see the percent of debt to GDP recorded for Italy, Italy's debt percent includes those unfunded liabilities. So just to be able to read between the lines there. We've also seen reports, holiday shopping session forecast to be the worst since 2009. Industrial production misses for the 5th month in a row. More Americans struggle to afford food.
Let's talk about that. John, let's talk about more Americans struggling to afford food. But let's take this call right now. Sherry from Kansas, you've been waiting. You're on the air with John Reagan and me, Vin Finelli.
Hello, gentlemen. Have either of you read Marilyn Barnwell's book on Leo Wanta? It's available on the internet. And this lady's got some credibility.
Tell us about it.
Well, do you recognize the name Leo Wanta?
I can't say that I do.
Okay, Leo Wanta worked directly for President Reagan, and they're saying, and she's saying, that he is the reason that the wall came down because he broke the ruble. Mm-hmm. And, that's been said before. Yes, and he accumulated $27.5 trillion. 4.5 trillion was his. He supposedly gave the rest back to the government, or gave it to the government, although it was really his because he had already paid his seed money back. And this was back in like 2003 or 2004, and it's in a black hole. The government never got it, and I'm wondering if that's why they're not worried about this this debt that they're going to, the Federal Reserve is going to just lend us money, our government money, until it eats up that $23 trillion.
John, do you have a comment on this? I'm not sure I understand all the points that Sherry's making.
Well, even if there were that, number one, I don't see where they're hiding it at, and number two, it's still just a drop in the bucket, because when you look at the total debt and liabilities of the United States, not just the government, that's closing in on $300 trillion. So even if there is this $27 trillion out there, it's nowhere near enough to address the problem. The people in D.C. have no choice but to lie to us, because if they told us the truth, they would not get reelected. And that's the best case scenario. If they told us the truth, we may have returned to how things used to be handled, which is a little bit more violent.
Yeah. Well, Vince, if anybody wants to read this book, they can read it for free on the Internet. And Marilyn also writes
I'll tell you what,
on news
Sherry,
reviews.
Okay, Sherry, please send me a link.
I'm not on the Internet. I'm listening to you on satellite.
Okay. All right. I will see if I can find her, and I'll put a link up on the website. How about that?
Okay. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Sherry. Bye-bye. John Reagan, it sounds to me like it's going to get worse for everybody. It really sounds like we're heading toward the same place that the Weimar Republic headed. It looks like war is looming on the horizon. Let's start a war and distract everybody's attention from their daily problems so they can talk about war. And they did a really good job with the shooting at the U.S. Naval Yard several days ago. But it keeps coming back. Death and destruction, distracts us for a little bit. But we keep coming back to the economy. John Reagan wrote a book called The Financial State of the Union. John, tell us a little bit about that when we come back. John Reagan, USAPrepares.com. Class, just going to give you some headlines. 13 people were shot in a mass shooting in Chicago, at a Chicago park. A 3-year-old boy was shot in the face. South side of Chicago is on lockdown. Think about this. People are so angry that there are mass shootings. Chicago is the murder capital of the country. 13 shot dead in Chicago. And the House voted to defund Obamacare. That's good news. It's got to go through the Senate. I can't believe it. We are going down, and we're going down quickly. This is absolutely horrible. John Reagan, your book, The Financial State of the Union, is available. Tell us about how we can get it. It's on page 1. The post is on page 1, USAPrepares.com. Tell us about the book and the availability, please.
Well, just go to my website, thefinancialstateoftheunion.com, and you'll get the news on it and the links to purchase it from there. I know we don't have much time, and I did want to get in this last piece. If you're still on the fence, trying to decide whether or not you need to do something for yourself, this should do it. I call it the just-in-time killer, because when there's a financial collapse, my point is that we are going to see a collapse of the global supply chain. And if we also have an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, or a coronal mass ejection, CME, that brings down the power grid, that also would crash the global supply chain. We are so dependent on that chain, and we no longer live in the age where we have commodities warehoused. Everything is going through this supply chain to be at a certain place at a certain time. And it takes time to raise food. You don't just immediately get a cow you can slaughter. You don't immediately have a chicken you can slaughter. You don't immediately plant a seed and get veggies. And to increase the supply chain takes effort, time, money. And I came up with an equation on this. I learned several years ago that there's only about a 60-day supply of wheat in the world in the supply chain. It's not that we can't plant more and grow more, but that's what there is. So if we wanted to put aside enough wheat to feed everybody in the world for a year, we couldn't do it. We could only feed about 16% of them. Marjorie Wildcraft told us that if you haven't been raising your own food and you get into the position where you need to, if you have anything less than a 100% failure rate your first 2 years, you have a green thumb. That tells me you need at least 3 years of food on hand while you're getting over your mistakes. To take that 60-day supply and get 3 years out of it would mean that you could only handle 5.5% of the people. But we can't take that out of the supply chain or those 95% of people starve. I figure at best we can siphon off 10% of that, which means that given what's in the current supply chain, you can only save 0.5% of the people. That translates into a 99.5% fatality rate within a few months after the event. The time to take action is now. We can't save everybody, but anybody that wants to can take steps.
John Reagan, on Monday, we have our meetup at Ziggy's, 5:30 in the afternoon. Last Monday, our meetup went till 2:30 in the morning. People really want information. And this Monday is going to be movie night. I'm going to show some movies, survival movies. And I'd like to invite you to join me on stage this Monday and talk about exactly what we're talking about. We're in a lot of trouble. John, do you think you can make it to be with me on Monday?
I'll be there.
John Reagan, Vin Finelli, Ken Hurley's in the studio. This is USAPrepares.com, ending on a somber note. Class, your homework is to shut off your power, as we talked about during previous part of this broadcast, and see what you like and what you don't like. Write down what happened, and prepare for it. It's coming. Above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.